Nope, there we go.
Yeah, they're on now. Yeah, they're on now. Should see the other guy 6 inches. You're still standing. I got to hang them up and extension and I China re-up this time.
All right, folks, why don't we get started? I'm not quite sure. It's 7 o'clock. Not quite sure how long this will take us, but at the last meeting, we were waiting for certain information. One of them was what changes, if any, make within the agreements and how that change had to take place. My question to the attorney was, seeing that it was referenced as a statute, could we just change it to include the public facilities, which would have been the fire station? Her answer to me was no, we'd have to go back and do a specific language change, have the public hearings, notices, and then have it on a warrant for the people to make a decision on the change. The other thing that you talked about was, you know, what kind of money we were generally thinking of, and again, I think we can truthfully say we're going to get $200,000 a year that will be coming into this TIF. It could be more, it could be less. I think it'll probably be more because there'll be more homes that will be coming on, and so the value will be there. So, but conservatively, a couple $100,000, which led me to look at the 17 years that we had, and if we actually wanted to attempt to do something with a fire station in terms of an expansion, would we have the money within that 17 years to pay for that? I think the answer is, if you're up to $2 million, I don't know what it would cost, but if you're up to $2 million for a fire station expansion, then obviously you have the money within the TIF to pay that moving forward. So I think for me the answers have been provided. I think it's up to the committee to not only decide, you know, if it's really something they're warranted, they really want a warrant to go forward with, would be the expansion of the public facilities fire station, and if that's okay, if there's anything else within the confines of the statute that we want to modify. I mean, we have approval for a variety of other things that have been expressed and voted on. So whether that's enough, or whether we just want to go ahead and try to do the building facility change. So I think I've got the answers that you need right now. I think it's just a collectively. If I read the room at the last time, I think the fire station expansion was something that resonated with people within the room. So I'll let you folks speak.
So more than likely, we'll definitely have more money than what it would take to build an expansion, right? A fire station expansion, right? So we want to make sure that we add other items just in case we don't have to go through this process down the road.
Well, I'm not sure it's that difficult of a process to do. I think we'll find out through here, because we'll have to get the language, you know, do the hearing process and have the appropriate language. But the other thing I did today is that I just looked at what's the going rate to build an expansion on a big building, and a fire station seemed to be coming in around between $300 and $350 a square foot. So if you're looking at 5,000 square foot building, you're pushing up against $2 million.
So, is there any? Go ahead. Yeah.
No.
Is there any? I know the answer to this, but just to be sure, we don't have a projected time frame, right? Just so that lends itself to the fact that we don't really, we know we may have common sense says we have enough money to do an expansion. One depends on when we do it, right? And two depends on the extent of the project, right?
Correct.
I'd be inclined, and I'm just speaking for myself, not to commit any money beyond the fire station at this time because of those two unknowns.
Could cost more.
It could cost more, and we may not do it as quick as we think, and time will increase the cost as well. If we go pick a couple other projects, it would be too bad to shortchange the fire project, or the firehouse project, or in 3 years, 4 years from now, we might have more pressing ideas on what that money might be used for than we would by trying to pick a second and third project now. So long and short of it, I'd earmark the money. I mean, I'd make I'd support the direction of the fire station and support tucking the money away.
Why wouldn't we use expansive language? As expansive as we can, but give ourselves options. What if something else does come up?
No, I agree with Tom, and I think it would be prudent to just go ahead one time. One of the other things is if we limit it to just the fire station, then whoever is planning the fire station is the nature of public projects, whether they need it or not, we're going to spend every time.
That's gonna be for us, that's gonna be for us.
Wait a minute.
Well, I understand, but it would be easier for the board if there's at least one other thing that money could be spent on. And I would throw out, I'm not a lawyer, but just reading the code, it sounds like provisions for environmental fishery improvements are pretty broad and don't seem to be tied to the district in any way.
Nothing says we have to use that money for that, right? If we end up having to use it all for the fire station, then we use it for the fire station.
Then you could, but I think it would be prudent to go ahead. If there is, maybe I'm wrong about the category, but I think having another second category of costs where the money could go, so that, let's say the fire station starts, that project takes off this fall. Yeah, if the attitude of the people planning the project is we get all the money from the TIF, no matter what, they're going to recommend a project that spends all the money from the TIF. You know that as well as I do. That's just the nature of public projects.
Tom, can you finish what you were saying? What was your point that you were just making?
Harking back to what Chip just said, I would want council to try to draft the language to be as expansive as possible, so we can talk enough identifiable projects that we might not even know about, but it would fit in the category, whatever's drafted. Not just say public facilities.
Okay, not by project, but by sort of like umbrella
category, yeah,
right.
We can talk a bunch of things.
I got it.
And so we don't have to do this. I mean, I know it's not on Archer's projects, but why bother if everybody agrees that we can spend this money in these categories and then figure out what the project is, whether it's environmental or something else.
Would something like economic development be an umbrella category?
It might be. As I said, I would, I don't do this kind of work, but I'm glad to hear it.
But you're saying.
I would charge her with, give us some language that lets us do as much as we can.
Public safety is clear, and I think if the cottage build out is going to be 15% of the town's total household, it seems to be pretty reasonable to be able to say, okay, the increased cost of public safety can be allocated to the cottages at least a large part. It's certainly the biggest growth in households in the town, right? So public safety is a general category, and I like that general category, not this specific
Right.
thing. So public safety is one of the other, as I said, just reading the language, the environmental protection with fisheries, that it seems really broad. And we give the town a much, well, two things, and we give the town latitude to spend the money if needed. The other thing is, my sense is, if the Kennebunk River is declared impaired, and just, I'm sorry to be from the record on it, but just one box culvert costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in. So we need to put in three of them. It doesn't matter where they are. If it qualifies for this, well, save the taxpayer, the general taxpayer base from that. I guess my general thought is whatever we do should benefit a broad percentage of our local residents as possible. So public safety and the environment seem like.
Well, when I look at the statute, it looks like we're limited to various things within the statute. So I think we have to have council look at that and say, we want to have more broad authority on the use of this after we collectively decide what that use may be, and not narrowly focus it down. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, that's what Tom was, I think, generally referencing was, and I don't want to paraphrase Tom, but I think your objective was so that we don't have to jump through the hoops again, basically. I mean,
I don't want, it's an easy process, but why go through this if we don't have to?
the only difference is, in my opinion, is that there may be a need down the road that we're not recognizing.
And then if that's the case, then we go through this process again, but I think we try to, put things in place so that we don't have to, but if the need pops up, just like this.
You can do that, though, right? You can pull your, let's say, your umbrella language off. And go back to the state, say, we want to target a train station, I don't know, whatever, okay? And you can keep doing that, you can keep pulling off your preset plan and offer another one to the state.
Well, that's what we're doing right now, is because we had a septic and we're not doing the septic, so, I mean, the sewer line or whatever, so but every time you revisit this, you incur legal fees,
That's why.
processing and all that. So that you do it.
No, we don't have to do it again, legal count, but to your point, I mean, now septic is off the table, and unfortunately, we said septic, and then she's saying, because we said septic, we're stuck.
Yeah.
That's why I just want to get, I read that.
Yeah.
You mean sewer.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I meant sewer.
So
I know what you mean.
do we have to go to the state first, or do we go to the state after it gets voted?
I think it goes simultaneously.
I think we gotta go state first, so we're gonna get blessing.
That very well may be. She indicated to me on the phone when I spoke with her.
I understand.
She didn't think that there was gonna be any issue with the state providing us the authority as long as the town approves it. Because they wanna see this money used for these purposes.
So what about, we had a discussion last week, is there any way to be able to use this for ambulance? Did you look into that?
Not for ambulance, no. Couldn't you use it for that? I mean, that's, you can use it for capital projects.
Well, why we use it for a brush truck with CMP?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, again, why can't we craft language?
I'm
Public
sorry,
safety
why-
facilities and
why is it
equipment.
that we ain't doing it for capital?
Yeah, I'm not an attorney, I wouldn't argue with it, yes.
That's right.
Oh, you're kind of arguing already.
No,
No, I never asked it specifically on the ambulance.
okay.
I mean, it's, you know, I can certainly see taxpayers' money there, right, and, you know, and it's a drop in a bucket compared to what they're gonna be getting. Right, we wouldn't have to worry, you can almost pay for that cash with what we have in there, right?
You could be good with that,
Right,
He's talking about you.
No, but paying cash for that vehicle would be good for everybody in town.
absolutely. Yeah, you save it for all of us. Yeah, so I'll ask the questions, I'll see how broad we can get, and what her thought process is on that.
and you know, the other thing, you know, we talked about an expansion of the fire station. You know, when you look at the cost, you said, you know, $350 a square foot or whatever it was. I mean, it all depends on what we want. We're not looking for a whole new fire station. We're looking, in my mind, we're looking for some bays. And I don't see that, even a 3-bay building, I don't see that costing $2 million. Now, obviously, we would want to do some renovations inside the existing one to, you know, utilize the space as much as possible, but geez, I don't see us spending more than $2 million.
I think you're absolutely right, but I think before we get too far into this, first thing we ought to do is nail down exactly what this expansion is gonna be used for. Figure out what it's gonna be used for, translate that into how many square feet are gonna be needed. And at that point, we can put an approximate cost on it. Once we have that, then at least you know what you've got to work with. You know, are we looking at $1 million or looking at 3 million? And it gives you a little better idea of what other projects you might be able to look at if, you know, depending on the cost of this project. But I think we really need to nail down exactly what are we planning to do on that expansion. I don't want to put in another 3 bays. And then, have somebody find about at the next budget meeting. Well, you know, we got an extra bay there now. We were thinking about getting a second ambulance.
But I think we have been, from the last meeting, the discussion, oh, we don't want to go to the fire department and ask what they want, because they're gonna want everything. Well, I think you do. You go to them and you say, put together what you want, because that's what we did here.
No, put together what you need.
Right, put together what you need, and then at that point, the committee that is gonna build this or whatever can parse it down and say, okay, yeah, that's really not a need, but we need, you know, I'm not in a position to say it's only 2 big. The people that run that, the people that take care of that organization, that we are in that.
Let John and I on the committee, we'll get it up.
With this place, right? I mean, this place, when we first started, was, you know, initially we said, oh, I'm only, you know, $1 million, we're not gonna spend more than 1 million. Next thing you know, we're at 3 million, but we parsed it down quite a bit from where it initially started.
But if you go back to what John said, which I finally comprehended. Public safety is public works. You know, it could be public works, and you gotta keep the roads, you know, taken care of, you know, it could be fire department, it could be a lot of things, that's a general on road state.
New ambulance,
You got the police that, you know, are.
You got police involved, I mean,
Your office.
everything can be public safety, if you wanna make it.
First time heard about public work. And they're overcrowded right now, I know that.
Yes, they are.
I've talked to Roger 2 times, and they're pressed for space.
Well,
With the new fire station, I can smell the $2 million ladder truck coming out.
Oh, don't say that.
I can smell it.
I think you're right.
Well, don't have any buildings that hurt.
Public works have needs.
Public works, they got needs. And if if the fire department can't get to Joe Wall's house without public works being there, they have needs too.
So I think an umbrella public safety would be a good,
Right, we're getting some difficulty with public works because you gotta be on over the cottages, they don't have any public ways. We don't plow, no, but we've gotta get it in.
But that's the benefit of the environmental
It might be,
watershed protection stuff is that isn't tied to the cottages. And if public works has to spend money on that kind of project, and they need to spend money on expansions or whatever, we use this money for the environmental, whatever environmental watershed protection, whatever this money can qualify for, we could free up other tax dollars to pay.
To help the public.
that's right. It's coming back door instead of front door.
And that's why, that was one of the things that I thought of with the ambulance, if we could pay the ambulance with this, that gives us a couple $100,000, whatever it is for an ambulance. That is, not that we wanna go spend that stuff, but it's.
No, we keep it going. You know, we're gonna give it to keep, right?
Yeah, something with the cottages. Do you think when that project is all built out, do you think they're not gonna petition the town to take them roads over?
wait and see, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be surprised if they don't.
They should be out building them to the standard.
Yeah, there's a lot of roads in there.
Bill, we probably won't see it, but yeah, 17 years from now, there may be a petition coming forward in some.
You might not see it, I will.
Oh, okay.
I got no place to go. They don't want me either way.
Along those lines with the cottages and everything in your broad umbrella, is there anything, I believe when they were all built up, they were supposed to connect to the Eastern Trail as far as the back of the cottages or something like that?
They have.
They have, I just, sometimes I wonder, do we put any emphasis on our residents as far as recreation within the town? I know you're putting up a playground, but I'm wondering, would this also like be broad enough to, like, if you want to add purchase another piece of land, or maybe even improve the land here to do a basketball court and a ball field or tennis court or something, because people shouldn't have to go out of town to use facilities all the time.
But I think those are questions that you've got to put to council.
Yeah, so really the question
is, but all of these examples.
Right, is it?
that's what I'm gonna provide to.
Right.
Say,
Public facilities or
Yeah.
public,
Right.
with public safety.
So I mean, they got the experience because, like I said, it's gotta get blessed by folks up in Augusta. Presumably they'll be looking at the statutes, whatever these umbrella categories might be, whether they fit or not.
right,
We need to be careful with voters in terms of asking for too blank a slate. Well, it seems to me that if you just limit it to public safety and environmental watershed protection, whatever you want to call it, that's good. If you start throwing in everything, including the kitchen sink, if I'm a voter, an uninformed voter, I might start acting like a mule. They got a lot of money, they just want permission to spend it on it.
Well, we're gonna have to come to you though, Chip, to get the blessing if we're gonna spend it, so.
right.
I mean, we can't just spend it, unfortunately.
Oh, no,
I gotta put it to the voters, that, even if it's Simone's project, I mean, and if voters say, that money should be spent elsewhere.
Okay, so what you're saying is the process, make sure I understand that. You're saying the process would be to get a dollar actually spent on anything that we go to the state, we get permission under the TIF statute. Then we go to the voters and we get permission on a broad basis But you're saying that for a
And
specific
then to spend
project,
it,
for a specific project, there's a second vote.
yeah, in order to spend that money,
We can't.
we have to go back.
I thought that's what this vote is for.
No, just, well, right.
Earmarks money, just for earmarks money to go into, we'll say that fund, in order to use that fund to spend it, we gotta go back to the voters and ask for their approval.
It's like when they bought the brush truck out of the TIF funds from the CMP TIF, they had to go to town meeting to authorize the money for the brush truck to come out of the TIF funds.
Just, you know, so what was in there now, right, in there now is sewer. So, if we wanted to build a sewer, we have to go to the town and vote and ask for a vote to spend that money for the sewer.
We
project.
be telling the town with obviously, where
Even
the
though
money's
it's
coming
approved,
from,
That's already approved. And
Right, what she was relaying to me was because the exhibit B was pretty specific, right, as to what was proposed and what the money can be used for. That's what you're limited to, so right now we're limited to the sewer, Route 1 sidewalk, revolving business loan and grant program, economic development marketing program, municipal staff for economic development, or administrative and professional services. Period. That's all we have authority for.
Okay, but even within those categories, I just want to, sorry to be the dead horse, I just want to make sure I understand. Let's say we were spending money on sewer. You guys are saying that it still would have to go to town meeting for a confirming vote, in effect,
Yes,
before the money could actually be spent on sewer.
yeah, what we'd be having, we'd have the argument at our meeting is that it's not coming out of your pocketbook taxpayer, it's coming out of this fund we already have, right?
so it's almost a two votes. We get a vote for legislative authority to create this and spend it there. And then when we're ready to spend it, go back to the town meeting again, either special or annual, request the use of the fund.
Well, did we need to go to town meeting vote when they were doing the improvements on Route 1 and they needed to replace Bartlett's Bridge and they needed the extra funding to put the sewer line pipe? We had to pay for some of that. Did that have to go to? I don't think it did.
I don't know if we did or not.
I didn't think it did.
It was sewer related, so I'm not sure if we did. Can't remember, Simone. That's a good question. Maybe I should ask that.
Yeah.
Just so specifically where.
Yeah, that's a.
I think the concern that the selectmen have is they really don't want to be spending the money unless people know they're spending it.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's more,
Checks and
Be
balances.
transparent,
Final
be
authority.
transparent.
It's all about transparency.
And what we could do is propose. Give everybody the information. But I want to see the community raise their hands in affirmation or not.
Okay. Anything else? You guys are giving me a lot to do.
That was the goal.
It can't take you long to get there.
I was gonna say that's the idea is to give you as much.
We had a meeting.
Oh,
You
That's
didn't know it, when we had a meeting.
I bet you did.
You've been cruising all these years, all the time we make that.
That's true.
No, I think we're zeroing it in, too, all the time, but, you know, I agree that if you can get some blanket coverage, a blanket language. That allow, I'm just looking for some freedom. And not trying to lock in something. You know, too specific, because that is already
That's where we are.
specific and it's biting us.
Exactly right.
I don't know who wrote it.
So. So let me think this out, just for a minute while I get you all here, so. Say the opinion of the attorney as well as the opinion of the deed. Department of Economic Community Development is that we can do these things. Is it your sense that we could be prepared to have some sort of warrant article on this year's annual town meeting
I'd
for
love to.
that flexibility?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? Yeah, they could be done.
I mean, the need is there, right? So, I mean, especially if we're thinking of, you know, an expansion for the fire station, things are just not gonna get cheaper, right? So,
And that's gonna take a while for, you know, I mean, if we do the same process or similar process that we did with this building, it's gonna take us a while to get things solidified and firm.
we need to get that so that.
But it would help a lot if there's an identified funding source.
Yes.
Yes.
In terms of what the parameters are, and if either the attorney says no or the voters say no, then
We're back to the drawing.
that
It certainly is an easier pill, I think, for the voters to swallow that we're using TIF money rather than to go. Like the same process that we went here, now we're using taxpayer dollars and we're gonna spend $2 million. If we're saying we're gonna spend $2 million on TIF money, that's already, I mean, to me, that's. It's not free money, but it's not costing taxpayers anything.
Still their money.
Yeah.
Right.
We gotta approve.
You say it's not costing the money, but the money that would normally be raised in taxes isn't going into the general,
But the TIF is already
but
created,
it's already created.
right? The
Yeah.
TIF is created, you know.
It's just a roundabout.
Yeah, the only other way you could do it is almost wait 17 years and take that lump of money, go back to a town meeting and say, hey, we got this money, we want to spend it on this.
Yeah.
Because once then, it goes to the town's coffers if it's not spent. It's back into the tax.
at the end of 7, 8 years, free money.
Well, it's not free money, it goes into our fund balance. And
Money
then
from a different
the
source.
flexibility of the board at that point, can use it, can make recommendations for its use elsewhere. And there'd be no authority over that.
I don't wanna wait till next year.
There are towns that
Yeah,
have
you
many.
know, those 17 years, and we're 50 cents on the dollar, you're not gonna get anything out of it.
And in 17 years, 3 whatever $1 million, they can be rich at means anyway.
That's what John just said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's a kind of a sideline.
You know, if in fact we can't have general category, then we can find out what Amanda, what her recommendations are, what kind of language we should be utilizing, and then maybe we've got to rethink. But we got to get specific about.
Yeah, rather than yes or no questions. I mean, answers, maybe some, you could think about this,
Yeah.
right?
These are open categories that
Right.
people use.
Or you could think about this, she could do some kind of basic.
Give us some. Give us some categories.
It may help with others to be a little more specific.
Make more money. We could do that.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think voters want to say to any group, say, oh yeah, you got $500,000 to spend, yeah, we'll leave it up to you to spend it. We're not gonna do that. At least I wouldn't want to.
Well, I think it's really important when we're pitching this, to make it clear, all we're doing is opening the door, and before the money is spent on specific thing, any specific things, we have to come back to the voters. Because I did not understand that myself 5 minutes ago. I think that's super important. So if you say, you know, just throw the money into one big category that the collector can spend on whatever they think is public safety. Not that I don't love you guys.
I don't think none of us on the select board would be open for that anyway.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that I think it's really important to emphasize that voters, that we're just, right now, we're tied to these narrow things. Sewer's not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
I got that last year, but bottom line, the things that it's approved for right now aren't gonna. none of them are going to be practical or totally clear. So what we're doing is like I said, opening the door to spending on these categories, but we still have to react to others. That's right.
We move things along.
Even if it isn't, this board would not do anything but that. Period.
And then just make sure you say that in plain.
Yeah.
There's, it has a multi-purpose going back to the proposal, but one of them is you tend to be more thorough and more thoughtful and put more effort into planning when you know you have to go to the student, because you gotta justify why you're going. Instead of just one meeting and we pick a thing and go home, that, you know, we've given it a workout. And when we resolve it, we'll probably all stand by what we, you know, suggested.
Find out we were dead wrong, and I'm thinking.
Well, sometimes you get surprised.
Anything else?
Does it make any sense while we're going through this process, get like a broad brush opinion from fire department and practical works department of what their needs might be? If we decide that we were supposed to the project.
I think I got pretty good sense already, but yeah, I can ask the question.
Okay, again, public works, it's not public works, it's ownership, protection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is part of public works.
Yeah, but I think when you take this to the voters, it's all very well to speak in these broad terms. But I think if you're gonna get something approved, you're gonna have to tell the voters what's at least under consideration.
I think if you ask Roger about what culverts, watershed, inheritance, whatever, I have reason to believe that he will have a fairly good list.
Right, I guess we'll just leave it up to when I get all the answers. Yeah. At that point, I'll also try to get some language on warrant articles, and things of that nature as well. Regardless of what her decision is, I'll try to get some broad language there as well, so I can share that. Let's see how that's going to work.
I think it may be a good idea if you get any kind of non-support from the attorney, ask if she's got some something in her file that, you know, that she may approve that fits into our, you know, our conversation.
Yeah, instead of
I'll keep sending stuff to her to get it rejected, but.
Instead of
it's not
reinventing
operating
the
on
wheel.
her radar.
Gotcha. Good. Thank you, guys.
Refreshments tonight?
Don't bring any beer with me.
I guess I better call home, make sure her boyfriend's gone.